Mohon perhatian teman Tes tes satu. Tes 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 tes. Cek 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 cek.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 7th Esoteric Annual International Conference, December 6, 2023. The Honorable EAIN Kudus Rector, Professor Dr. Haji Abdurrahman Kasdi, LCMSE, the Honorable EAIN Kudus, all the Vice Rectors, the Honorable Conference Speaker Professor Dr. Ghulam Hussein Rasul, the Honorable Dean Faculty of Usuluddin Dr. Haji Ahmad Atabik LC MSE, the Honorable Vice Dean of Usuluddin Dr. Abdul Karim SSMAG, and Dr. Irzum Fariha SAG MSE, the Honorable EAIN Kudus, all the chairmen of study programs at the Usuluddin Faculty, and the chairman of Tasawuf and Psychotherapy Department, Salma Faatin MAG, and also all the conference participants. Firstly, let's say thank you to our God, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, the Lord of the world, the Lord of the universe. Allah has been giving us the blessing and the mercy so that we can gather in this place without something wrong happen. Amen. Secondly, may peace be upon our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has guided us into the right ways of life. Ladies and gentlemen, here Rinova Cahyandari, as the master of the ceremony, will guide this conference, the 7th Esoteric Annual International Conference 2023. With the discussion theme, Mental Health, Natural Destruction, and Humanitarian Wars, how will Sufism and Islamic psychotherapy contribute to overcoming? This event, held by Tasawuf and Psychotherapy Department, Usuluddin Fakulti, EAIN Kudus, Indonesia. We are very proud and excited to invite the speakers and audience to participate in this event. Before starting our agenda, let me explain the agenda schedule of this seminar. The first is opening. The second is reading Holy Al-Quran. The third is singing to the nationality song Indonesia Raya. The fourth is welcoming speech by the Dean of Usuluddin Faculty. The fifth is announcement of the Usuluddin Award. The sixth agenda is praying. And the last is closing on the opening ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, all blessed audience, the first agenda is opening. Let's start this agenda by saying Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The second agenda is reading the Holy Al-Quran that will be read by our brother Ainum Hisham Farooq. To Ainum Hisham Farooq, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قيل لهم إذا قيل لكم تفسحوا في المجالس فافسحوا يفسح الله لكم وإذا قيل انشزوا فانشزوا يرفع الله يرفع الله الذين آمنوا منكم والذين أوتوا العلم درجات والله بما تعملون خبير. الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ تأذن ربكم لئن شكرتم لأزيدنكم ولئن كفرتم ولئن كفرتم إن عذابي لشديد صدق الله العظيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you for the Al-Quran recitation. The third agenda is singing to Indonesia Raya. Please attention of Indonesian nationality song Indonesia Raya. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand up. The fourth
The
agenda
fourth
is
agenda, fourth 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 agenda.
the fourth agenda is welcoming speech will be delivered by the EAIN Kudus Dean Faculty of Usuluddin to Dr. Haji Ahmad Atabik LCMSE. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wa kafa. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammadin nabil mustafa wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ahli sidqi wal wafa. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Rabbi shrah li sadri yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli amma ba'd. Yang kita hormati bersama narasumber kita Profesor Dr. Hussein Russell dari Australia dan juga narasumber gua Ibu Salma Faatin. Wakil Dekan 1, Wakil Dekan 2, para Kaprodi, Sekprodi, anak-anakku semuanya, para mahasiswa dari semua prodi, terutama prodi tasawuf dan psikoterapi yang dirahmati Allah Subhanahu wa taala. Alhamdulillah pada kesempatan kali ini kita bisa melaksanakan sebuah agenda yang very important, yaitu agenda International Conference yang diadakan oleh Prodi Tasawuf dan Psikoterapi pada akhir tahun ini ya. Ini sudah masuk bulan ke-12 dan tanggal 6. Tema yang kita usung, yang diusung oleh Prodi Tasawuf dan Psikoterapi ini pun luar biasa berkaitan.
Mohon maaf, ada kendala teknis. Mohon ditunggu sebentar, kami akan segera kondisi ini. I'm sorry for the this event that is technical condition. We will overcome this very soon. Thank you. Assalamualaikum, Profesor Hussein Rasul. Welcome to EAIC.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I just, there was some technical problem, I think. And
Yes,
I'm going to put
we
my
hope
camera
Professor
in a
are
minute.
in a good health.
Yeah. My connection is not very good as well. So I'm going to try to put my camera in a minute so that we can use it.
Juga. No, this sound.
Can I share my can I please share my screen? Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, Professor. There are some obstacles in here, but we will soon overcome these obstacles for a while. So, how in there, Professor Rasul? Is this the first time we meet in a Zoom meeting, right? So
That's okay.
we
That's okay. Don't worry.
always want to
No,
hear
no problem.
important
No
lesson.
problem.
Yeah.
No problem. Yeah, no problem. No,
Thank
it
you
happens all
very
the time.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yes, we are very grateful that Professor was able to participate in this activity.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. I feel very honored and pleased that you and delighted to be invited
Okay, yeah.
and thank you very much. Thank
Okay,
you all of
Professor,
you.
we will try to continue our ceremonial, upcoming ceremonial.
Yeah.
For a while, I will take the master of the ceremony for a while. So we will come back soon for
Okay.
Professor Hussein Rasul. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. That's okay. I'm still
Thank you,
here.
thank you very
Going to
much.
be here. Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. We will continue the ceremony. for waiting. Thank you for waiting, and we will continue this conference. The fourth agenda is welcoming speech will be delivered by the EAIN Kudus Dean Faculty of Usuluddin to Dr. Haji Ahmad Atabik LC MSE. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi washabbihi mawala la haula wala quwata illa billah ma ba'da. Yang kami hormati Profesor Dr. narasumbernya. Yang kami hormati Profesor Dr. Hussein Russell, PhD dari Australia, selaku narasumber pertama, narasumber inti, dan juga Ibu Salma Fatin, narasumber kedua sekaligus Kaprodi Tasawuf dan Psikoterapi, para wakil dekan 1, wakil dekan 2, para kaprodi, psikprodi, semuanya, anak-anakku, dosen di lingkungan Fakultas Usuluddin yang dirahmati Allah. Melanjutkan tadi ya, bahwa tema yang kita usung ini tema yang sangat menarik dan kontekstual pada saat ini berkaitan dengan kesehatan mental dan juga kemudian kerusakan alam, kemudian juga kejahatan perang, kemudian dihubungkan dengan bagaimana solusi yang akan diberikan psikoterapi atau tasawuf. Nah, ini kajiannya sangat luas. Dan memang kita ini sebagai manusia diberikan Allah 2 unsur, unsur jasmani dan unsur rohani. Unsur rohani pemenuhannya kalau ada masalah, ada sakit, pemenuhannya melalui dokter. Tapi kalau unsur rohani pemenuhannya bisa melalui tasawuf, psikoterapi, dan hal-hal yang lain yang berkaitan dengan kejiwaan kita. Oleh karena itu, berbagai masalah yang menerpa dunia saat ini, termasuk diantaranya ada kerusakan alam, perang yang tidak berkesudahan, baik di Rusia, Ukraina, kemudian terakhir ini ada di Palestina, dan juga adanya berbagai permasalahan yang ada ini di antara yang bisa disolusi atau dalam hal ini cara mensolusinya di antara melalui sufi healing atau juga psikoterapi. Beberapa bulan yang lalu, walaupun beberapa minggu yang lalu, saya berada di sebuah negara di Maroko, belahan dunia paling barat, Afrika. Kehidupan masyarakatnya ini kehidupan masyarakat yang erat sekali dengan tasawuf, thariqah. Ini sebuah kerajaan. Dulu 2 tahun yang lalu, saya mencoba mengcompare dengan Arab Saudi. Arab Saudi ini juga sebuah kerajaan. Dan saya bisa menyimpulkan bahwa di sebuah negara, baik itu republik kerajaan, yang di situ ada kehidupan yang dilandasi, ada kemasyarakatannya ini erat sekali dengan tasawuf, dengan hal-hal yang berkaitan dengan tarekat, ini masyarakatnya lebih tenang, lebih humanis daripada negara-negara yang masyarakatnya ini tidak mengenal tasawuf. Di Indonesia, alhamdulillah ini termasuk negara yang tarekatnya, torekohnya, kemudian tasawufnya kenalan sekali. Sehingga humanisme yang ada pada masyarakat Indonesia ini sangat kental, dan ini juga sedikit banyak bisa memberi solusi pada permasalahan-permasalahan yang sifatnya psikis bagi para masyarakat Indonesia secara umum. Dan apabila ada permasalahan-permasalahan secara global maupun secara internasional ya, maka hal-hal yang sifatnya sofistik, psikoterapis, ini bisa dijadikan sebagai sebuah solusi bagaimana psikoterapi sofistik ini bisa berperan untuk memberikan solusi terhadap permasalahan-permasalahan terutama yang akan dikaji ini. Oleh karena itu, mari kita simak pembahasan yang akan disampaikan oleh Profesor Dr. Hussein Harsel dari Australia, dan juga mungkin nanti ada tambahan-tambahan dan juga narasumber yang lainnya atau diskusi. Dan apabila nanti narasumbernya ini menggunakan bahasa Inggris, tentunya nanti bisa dijelaskan oleh eh, eh, para dosen yang sangat ahli dalam bahasa Inggris. Ya, itu yang bisa saya sampaikan. Nanti setelah saya ini juga ada acara penyerahan sertifikat Usuluddin Good Talent. Jadi masih mahasiswa yang berprestasi kami beri reward dan juga sertifikat. Ya, ini di antara kecil daripada reward kita kepada para mahasiswa yang berprestasi. Semoga kedepannya para mahasiswa dari berbagai prodi yang ada di Fakultas Usuluddin ini bisa meningkatkan prestasinya, baik akademik maupun non-akademik. Demikian dari saya buka acara International Conference ini dengan bacaan suratul Fatihah ala hadiyanah as-solihah al-Fatihah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Shiratal mustaqim, shiratal ladzina. Demikian wal afu minkum. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for the welcome speech. The fifth agenda is announcement of the Usuluddin Award. The Usuluddin Award is organized by Usuluddin faculty. This activity is an opportunity for students to show their achievement, talents, and interests. This activity was attended by various students from our study program at the Usuluddin faculty. The event was well received by students from the Aqidah and Islamic Philosophy study program, the Quran and Tafsir study program, the Hadith study program, and the Sufism and Psychotherapy study program. Finally, we got 16 winners for all categories. We invite the Dean Faculty of Usuluddin, Dr. Haji Ahmad Atabik LC MSE, to congratulate the winners.
Baik, saya akan membacakan dari top 16 Usuluddin Got Talent 2023. Yang pertama dari Prodi Akidah dan Filsafat Islam. Ini mohon langsung ke depan ya. Prodi Akidah dan Filsafat Islam dari akademik, yaitu yang pertama Farid Naufa Musyafiin, yang kedua Ahmad Farid Fanani. Silakan ke depan Mas Farid dan Farid juga. Yang non-akademik, yang pertama Wahyu Fitrianingrum, dan yang kedua Ahmad Rafi Maftuhan. Kemudian dari Prodi Tasawuf dan Psikoterapi, dari akademik, yang pertama Muhammad Saifuddin, yang kedua Muhammad Khairul Huda, Muhammad Khairul Hidayat. Sedangkan yang non-akademik, yang pertama Arum Aizatul Istiqomah, yang kedua Ulian Nur Rahmah. Selanjutnya dari Prodi Ilmu Al-Quran dan Tafsir, akademik, pertama Muhammad Ainun Naim, yang kedua Zulfa Wardatul Fatimah. Dengan non-akademik, yang pertama Catherine Iriani, izin. Yang kedua Fajar Muayyad. Ada? Yang terakhir dari Prodi Ilmu Hadis, akademik, yang pertama Lulu Evirina, yang kedua Aprilia Laila Husna, non-akademik, yang pertama Muhammad Ali Adnan, yang kedua Diki Gangga Erik. Monggo Pak Dekan, dipersilakan untuk menyampaikan sertifikat. Untuk selanjutnya, selain sertifikat, nanti akan langsung ke masing-masing ya. Kemarin sudah diminta nggih untuk aja Mas ya.
Ahmad Rafli Maftuhan. Muhammad Saifuddin. Muhammad Khairul Huda. Arum Aizatul Istiqomah. Ya Nur Rahmah. Ainun Naim. Zulfa. Astagfirullah. Fajar Muayyad. Lulu Evi. Aprilia Laila. Nur Ali Adnan. Diki Gangga Erik.
Thank you, Dean and Vice Dean Usuluddin Faculty, for the awards given to the winners of Usuluddin Award. Congratulations for all the winners. Furthermore, the sixth agenda is praying that will be delivered by Mrs. Dianing Pravitri, MSE. To Mrs. Dianing Pravitri, MSE, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Hamdan yuwafi ni'amahu wa yukafi'u mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhika wa 'azimi sultanik. Allahumma sholli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammad. Walhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Allahumma firli wali walidayya warhamhuma kama rabbayani shaghira. Rabbana ighfir lana wa ikhwanina alladhina sabaquna bil imani wa la taj'al fi qulubina illa lil ladina amanu rabbana innaka ra'ufur rahim. Allahumma inna nas'aluka salamatan fid din wa afiyatan fil jasadi wa ziyadatan fil ilmi wa barakatan fil rizqi wa taubatan qablal maut wa rahmatan 'indal maut wa maghfiratan ba'dal maut. Allahumma hawwin 'alaina fi sakaratil maut wan najata minan nar wal 'afwa 'indal hisab. Rabbana hab lana min azwajina wa dhurriyyatina qurrata a'yun waj'alna lil muttaqina imama. Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka antas samiul alim wa tub 'alaina innaka antat tawwabur rahim. Ilahi anta maqsudi wa ridhoka matlubi a'tini mahabbataka wa maghfiratak. Rabbana la tuzigh qulubana ba'da idh hadaitana wa hab lana min ladunka rahmah innaka antal wahhab. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wassalamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Al-Fatihah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you to Mrs. Dianing Pravitri, MSc. The seventh is closing of the opening ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, that's all for the opening ceremony. I apologize profusely if any words that less pleasing to the audience here. Let us close this opening ceremony by saying Hamdallah together. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The next agenda is main agenda which we are waiting for. A conference session is held by the speaker, Professor Dr. Ghulam Hussein Rasul from Charles III University, Australia, with the conference moderator, Mrs. Erina Rahmajati, MPSE. For the next agenda, to moderator, Mrs. Erina Rahmajati, time is yours.
Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you for Mrs. Rinova Cahyandari to hold and bring us to this ceremony and this seminar. Everybody, let me continue this conference. First, maybe I will call Professor Hussein. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Professor Hussein, are you still there?
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yes, I'm here. I can hear you properly. Cannot hear?
What did happen? We have some trouble with
No,
the
there's a sound problem.
technology problem, Professor.
That's okay. That's okay. No problem.
We'll start our conference. Everybody, I will read the curriculum vitae of Professor Dr. Ghulam Hussein Rasul that will bring us his presentation with the theme of the Islamic psychology and the psychotherapy, Islamic psychotherapy. Okay, Professor Dr. Ghulam Hussein Rasul. He is a professor of Islamic psychology at the Center of Islamic Studies and Civilization in Charles Sturt University, Australia. But now he is in Mauritius, so far, far away from here, about, yeah, near with Madagascar, isn't it,
That's correct.
Professor?
That's correct.
Teaching in Charles Sturt University, but you stay in Mauritius. Yeah,
Yes, that's correct.
There is some miscommunication about the time zone. But now I see that you are now stay in Mauritius. And then Mr. or Professor Hussein is a professor at the Center for Islamic Studies and Civilization, professor of Islamic Psychology, and consultant at the Center of Islamic Psychology, Ripa International University, Pakistan, and then he is also a director of studies for the Department of Islamic Psychology and Psychotherapy and Counseling at Al-Balagh Academy. So he is the scientist and also a doctor and therapist. There is so many books and also research that he did, but generally his academic experience area is about Islamic psychology and psychotherapy. So it's matched with our program, Professor. Our program is Tasawuf and Psychotherapy, which integrating between the Sufism and also the Islamic psychotherapy. This program is new. It's about and until 15 years in Indonesia. So we still need so many reference from others, practitioners and also professor can continue to development our program. So your time is now about 1.5 until it ends. Up to you, because
Okay, can I share my screen? Yeah. I need to share my screen. Okay. It's there. Now, can you see?
Professor, Alhamdulillah.
Can you see the slide and you can hear me? That's the most important thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, great. Let's start anyway. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه ومن سن بسنة يوم الدين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري وأحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Thank you for inviting me to this international conference from the Tawasuf and Psychology Department. I feel very privileged and honored to be invited. Thank you for according me at this time, because the time zone, is different. And also, I must apologize because I had something to do with my health. And so I'm going to talk about monotheism. I've changed the title slightly, and but I thought, the basis of Islamic psychology and psychotherapy, when we talk about it, you need to look at, the foundation. What's the basis? Yeah, what is the qaida, the fundamental? And that's why I choose the word monotheism as a foundation of Islamic psychology and psychotherapy. Now, in fact, I was in Indonesia last year. I was in Georgia, and also I went to have a few days in Lombok as well. So this part of Indonesia I know, but what I know is that we share the Indian Ocean with you anyway, depending which sides of Indonesia you are. Anyway, and I thought, it was one of the country. If I wanted to do hijrah, I would do it there, inshallah. Anyway, let's go straight. If you can't hear me, please let me know if there's a problem with sound. I know with technology sometimes there's disconnection. Let's start. Bismillah. When we talk in this particular lecture, what I want to talk about is to look at, what is the basis of it? What the basis? What's the how? We need some sort of foundation, and we're going to look at monotheism, as a base of it. The different rububiyah, in fact, and also the pillars of Islam, which is very important. You're going to look at very briefly about fitra. And the most important thing about integration of knowledge. Now, that's important because we are studying psychology. We are studying psychology, which is from the West, which is mostly secular and liberal psychology. And so there's sometimes, the lack of spiritual dimension. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you that you already know. I'm just going to remind myself about it. So in a way, that's why we need to have integration of knowledge. I'm going to look at that and so forth. So let's start with from the beginning is an introduction. Of course, when you talk about psychology, most students, and including me, when I first started, is that, they had no idea, that, there was psychology in the Quran and Sunnah, because we don't normally associate knowledge, of the Quran and Sunnah with psychology. By the way, I'm going to give you a copy of these slides, so you don't have to make note, copy it anyway. When we talk about, the science of the self or the soul, of course, this was examined in the Islamic literature, even in the Quran, we have the different type of stage of nafs and so forth. And so long before, in fact, the term or the concept of psychology was introduced in the West anyway, because as we know, the label psychology, as stated in there, is the word psychologia, which means it's psychology of a rational human being. That's from the Latin. It's from the 15th to 16th century that this particular terminology was used. But in the English language, they talk about, the physical dictionary, anatomy, which treat the body, and psychology, which treat the soul. So they tend to have a mind-body dualism. They tend to have a mind-body separation there. When we talk about, the body, we talk about, anatomy. When we talk about the psychology, we talk about the soul anyway. So this is basically, some history. But, Islamic psychology, as we know, you probably know better than me, ilm and nafs, yeah? Ilm mean knowledge, nafs mean self. We tend to call it the self. Some people call it the ego. But most of us, in the psychological world, Islamic psychology we have a consensus that the nafs would represent the self rather than the soul. And, we can see that the core, the core of Islamic psychology and psychotherapy is embedded, is rooted in the Quran and Sunnah, anyway. So when we look at human behavior and experience from an Islamic perspective, we look at a form of holistic dimension in the sense of the physical, the psychological, the social, and also the spiritual being, the spiritual dimension, which is based on an important thing, which is called the worldview. That's also I'm going to explore in this particular presentation, the Islamic worldview. The Islamic worldview is very different from other worldview as well. And when you're practicing psychotherapy, when you're dealing with psychotherapy, we need to have, that's why it's important for, to have an Islamic psychotherapist or Muslim psychologist or clinical psychologist when, to see somebody like that when you're a client, a patient, with psychological problem, because the person generally would have the same, what we call Islamic worldview, or sometimes people call it the Quranic worldview. We're going to explore that in a bit as well. So going back to the application of Islamic psychology or psychotherapy in clinical practice, it is based, of course, on the concept of Islamic healing and also different type of spiritual intervention as well, anyway. So let's move on to the next slides, anyway. Now, we all heard about Tawheed, we know about it, the concept of monotheism, and it's a single most important, in fact, a concept in Islam and the foundation of Islamic psychology. When I use the word Islamic psychology, I use the word, it means psychotherapy as well. But there are differences in definition, but we're going to look at that later on. So we know the word from Wahad, which means one. In fact, when referred to Allah, we don't call it Wahad, we call it Ahad. Kul Allah Wahad. That's a different thing. So it's like asserting asserting unicity anyway. So and it refers basically to the nature that God is actually a unity, one. It's not composed, made up of parts. It doesn't have what we call the Trinity, like in Christian theology, and also it's a unity of God anyway. There are in fact 3 different categories of Tawheed. Very briefly, let's move on to this. But just to mention that, the maintenance itself of unity of Allah, the maintenance of unity of Allah is the most aspect of Tawheed anyway. Let's briefly look at, what you mean in the oneness of God. It's His Lordship, and we call it Tawheed of Rububiyyah. It's the devotion that all worship. To God alone. And then we know that it's called the Tawheed of Ibadah. And the oneness of God in His names and attribute, Shifa, as they call it, is known as Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat. So the oneness of God and His Lordship mean that Allah has complete mastery of the universe in every way, and He alone, without partners, caused things to exist when there was nothing. He's the creator, and we are the creatures anyway. And according to Bilal Phillips, he mentioned that he said that since God is the only real power, in existence, it is He who gave the things the power to move and to change. So in fact, as we know from the Quran, nothing happens in creation except what he allows to happen according to his will. And no one shares his dominion. Allah is the creator of the universe and one that has no partner. So again, that's again from part, it's part of the fact we have to believe in this, otherwise there's no Islamic psychology or psychotherapy. Of course, compounded with that, we have this article of faith. So if you're going to claim that psychology, Islamic psychology, or there's in the psychology, there's element of Islam, then we have to meet the criteria. Yeah, there's a set of criteria we have to meet. We can't call something Islamic if it doesn't meet, it contradict the criteria of the article of faith, or the pillars of Islam either. So it must meet all the criteria of the 6 actions of the article of faith, which we all know about it. I'm not going to go and deal with it, just to say that, believe in Tawheed, in the angel, Malaika, in his books, different books, Kutub, in the Prophet, Nubuwwah, and Akhirah, which is the last day and afterlife, and also in Al-Qadr, which is predestination. These are to do with the article of faith. Now we come to a source of knowledge. Now some people say, some people would argue that there's Islamic knowledge and non-Islamic knowledge. Some people argue that there's no Islamic knowledge or not. There's knowledge, ilm, or sometimes, in fact, the word fiqh also means knowledge anyway, but we tend to use the word fiqh from a sort of Islamic jurisprudence, from a Sharia point of view. But let's say it's ilm. Now, the source of knowledge, in Islam, of course, our primary source of knowledge. That's why we go back first. That's why I call it primary, is from the Quran and Sunnah. As we know, it's called ilm and naqli. And also, we have it from rational knowledge. We have it from human intellect. We have it from observation. We have it from intuition. We have it from, empiricism as well, empirical. And we call that ilm. Now, when we talk about the integration, of the source and means of knowledge into something, integrate something, synthesize, we call it about, epistemological integration anyway, at Takamul al-Marifi. Now, the thing is so when we talk about knowledge is, okay, we can categorize Islamic and non-Islamic, okay, to make it easier for us to understand, but also when we talk about knowledge from one source. So in fact, there's no contradiction. Sorry, let's look at the quote from Malkawi in 2014 regarding this particular foundation of knowledge, because he was talking about, that, he talked about how, I'm not going to read it, just to make a comment on it, that he sees that, knowledge, the foundation of the knowledge, the basis of knowledge from the Quran, and it is where all knowledge comes from. And, and also what it say here, it say on the 4th line, it said, it inspires the Muslim to develop a distinct vision of the unity among the diversity of knowledge. That's a very important sentence. Why? Because it's talking about interconnectedness. That there's connectedness with everything. Everything is holistic in Islam, in fact. So everything is interconnected. So if you're going to have knowledge integration, which we used to call Islamization of knowledge before, nowadays we call it integration of knowledge, then there must be connectedness between in a way, if you took it from different disciplines. So which used to be, until we broke it down to different sub-disciplines anyway. So that unity has to be maintained, that integration anyway, you know. Of course, you talk about how this unity arises from the unity of divine and its application to different domain of knowledge anyway. So that source of knowledge and integration is very, very important anyway. Of course, we gain knowledge from experiment. We gain knowledge from reasoning, from akhl, from our actual intellectual ability. And we gain knowledge from the way we see things, we observe things as well. Anyway. But in the end, divine revelation come before any other form of knowledge, from either empiricism, intuition, or reason. Although there was some controversy before, because in the classical time, during the golden age of Islam, you know, what we call Islamic Renaissance between the 9th and 14th, 15th century, that, you know, there were some philosophers that really sometimes had problems because they have put, you know, rationality, the intellect, the akal before, you know, divine revelation. But that's another thing anyway. So even when we observe, we look at evidence-based practice, we make research and so forth, whether quantitative, qualitative, or even using what we call the McAcid methodology, and we still have, these has to be judged, those two aspects, the quantitative and qualitative research type of research has to be judged according to the criteria of divine revelation. Basically what we're saying that, you know, whatever research come out, whatever the finding of research has to be evaluated, whether they are in concordance, whether they are in congruence with Islamic belief and practice. If they are, for example, haram, we reject it. If they're halal, we tend to accept it. So even with the sort of knowledge, we need to look at authentic knowledge and inauthentic knowledge. Excuse me. Now people say, well, there's a contradiction. There's no contradiction. There's absolutely no contradiction between transmitted divine knowledge from the Quran and Sunnah and the rational empirical knowledge. As both approach, yeah, of course they come from the same source. They are not from different sources. They come from the same source. That is God the Almighty. So inquiring or probing, of course, it's permissible Islam. So as we can to arrive at the truth. Yeah. And this is, if you look at some of the verses of the Quran, this is reflected in the following verses of the Quran. For example, Surah Baqarah, Surah 2, verses 262. And I'll talk about, and it's about Prophet Abraham alayhi salam and so forth, and so this talk about probing, arriving at the truth or inquiring is quite permissible anyway, and reflecting as well anyway. And so you can see that these are very much permissible in Islam anyway. And you can read about this particular verse of Quran afterwards. So in view of all these, the scholars, for example, Markawi, suggested that the classical Muslim scholars, again, the scholars during between what they call the golden age of Islam, I call it the Islamic Renaissance between the 9th century, during the Abbasid period to the, maybe I go up to 17th century, during the time, the classical scholars, despite the different school of thought, or even madhab, if you want to call it, agreed that knowledge should be interconnected, that knowledge should be complementary, and organically linked to knowledge of God. So everything is connected. Yeah. Because if Allah is, we call it oneness of God, unicity, there's connection there. And knowledge also have to be connected. So in the view of these scholars, the fact that all sciences originate from a single divine source is a foundation for the ultimate integration of what we call unicity of knowledge or unity of knowledge. So this is, and as Malkawi maintained that the Islamic principle of divine oneness, which is already talking about Tawheed, is a foundation, of both the unity of knowledge and epistemological integration. And this consists the frame of reference and basically the basis, the foundation, the building block of for a monastic psychology or monastic Islamic psychotherapy as well. One important element within that sort of framework or paradigm is Islamic worldview. Now, Islamic psychology or psychotherapy is established on an Islamic worldview, and they call it sometimes tasawwuf or ruya al-Islami al-wujud. Arabic is not very good anyway, but it's a matter. It's called Islamic worldview. And this is based on the Quran and Sunnah. Sometimes they call it, in fact, Quranic worldview. Some people in the literature call it, but call it Islamic worldview anyway. And you can see how Akhmetova defined it, that it's a collection of position, attitude, values, stories. It's how we see the world, our perception of the world. As a Muslim, as if we put a Muslim lens and the way we see the world, which is very different from a secular, from a Christian, from a Hindu, and so forth, the way they see the world. Because if you have Iman and we're born a Muslim and so forth, whether Iman is high and low, it doesn't matter. This influences our worldview anyway. So it's about perception, how we see the world anyway, And it's about everything. It's about way of thinking. It's about themes, about values, about emotion, language, and so forth. It's like, as you said, it's a subjective way of thinking and the vision we have about how we interact with the world. Now, if you, as a client or patient, you go to a non-Muslim psychologist or clinic, they would have a different worldview from you. And that creates a problem already. So that's why, people tend to, that's what the whole point of Islamic psychotherapy has evolved the last decade or so, because there's a demand for that type of therapy anyway, because there's a demand from the Muslim population with psychosocial problem or psycho-spiritual problem as well. Then we look at, of course, we know that the Quran is not a book of psychology. It's possible to find a lot of analysis of human psychology in the Quran, because there's a lot about human behavior. There's a lot about human experiences. In fact, when you look at it, I always think about that human behavior has not changed over the years. You still have virtue, good virtue, values, bad virtues. People behave the same. You have jealousy and anger, many other, positive and negative emotion as well. That's about human behavior. So human behavior have not changed over a period of years. What have changed is technology. It's technology around us that have changed, but human behavior has remained the same. And in terms of, we can talk about how it is, there's a lot of messages of verses of the Quran, that teach us about human behavior and experiences and different type of emotions as well from the lives of the prophets and others. One important concept, is the concept of fitra. Now, we start from the belief in God, or the belief in God start, the belief of his existence and part of human nature as well. But that innate instinct, that thing, that inborn thing, that thing that is within us, is called fitra. And I quote in Asha'ud wrote a beautiful book on Islamic psychology from Islamic perspective, which I was very influenced with anyway. And the late Asha'ud, anyway, may Allah bless her and give her eternal fidos. She talked about how it is a pristine nature, is the pure nature of human that lead them to the knowledge of the truth, the truth, and of the God existence and flows there. So it's something we're born with. It's a natural state of submission to Allah. Yeah. In fact, according to Ibn Taymiyyah, we talk about that being born, in the nature of Islam, and if this nature, according to him, is not subsequently corrupted by also the belief of the family and society, and everyone will be able to see the truth of Islam, and also we talk about how they would embrace it. And I don't know whether I have these slides. I don't think. But fitra is very important. The fitra cannot, can be corrupted, of course, but it cannot be destroyed. You cannot destroy the fitra. It's there. It remains with us. Is the pristine nature of belief in the existence of God, of one God. And you can see this is reinforced in the Quran about the fitra. Allah says in Surah Al-Rum, Surah 30, verses 30, that, turn your face toward the religion, including the truth, adhere to the fitra of Allah, upon which He has created all people, and so forth. So you could see if the Quran talk about that fitra, and of course I don't know whether I have it there. I don't. Anyway, let me mention it. We know about the hadith as well. From the Allah Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They talk about I think it's Ibn Majah. This is an authentic hadith talking about that every child is born with a true faith of Islam, to worship none but Allah, and alone. But his parents convert him into, or make him into, Judaism, Christianism, or Zoroastrianism, or Manchaism. So man, according to Quran, if you look at these particular verses, is born in the natural state of unity, or not only in unity but purity, and the purity, of the fitra, Islam, of submission to the laws of God. Whatever becomes of man after birth is a result of, let's say, socialization, education, external influences, and also sometimes intruding factors. So this basically means that humans should adhere to the religion which Allah has prescribed for all human beings, not only Muslims, and to worship Allah, without partners. So this verse of the Quran, if you look at Ibn Kathir, Qurtubi, and many others, talk about how this fitra is a primordial faith, in which Allah Himself implanted in human nature. It also implies that Islam's essential message is of submission to the will of Allah, as told and practiced by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we explore the Quran and psychology, as I said before, the Quran is deemed, is deeply interested in human behavior and experiences, which is what psychology is about anyway, where the secret of man's strength lies, for which, sometimes reformation start and exists. The comprehensive Quranic verse, concern with human psychology, they provide correct knowledge, about it anyway, as well in means of not only give us knowledge, but also have to protect ourselves, and also sometimes even, the treatment, the cure anyway. And the creator of the human being, the creator of the human soul, as we say, is the one who knows all the hidden secrets anyway. And so you could see from different verses of the Quran, in fact, Allah mentioned in one of the verses of the Quran, I think, Surah Kafir, Surah 19, and Allah said, He created man, but also He knows what dark suggestion the soul can make to him, and He spoke about that He's nearer, yeah, to him than his jugular veins. But the main objective the Quran concerned with psychology is to guide man, is to give us some sort of direction or a sense of direction for him to achieve his goal, for him to achieve his objective, his purpose in life, his mission in life, anyway, In fact, if you look at verses of the Quran, talk about everything, about thoughts, fears, feeling of joy, sadness, as well as confusion, anxiety, and reassurance. It got the problem of certain elements, the aspect of strength and activity, treatment and outcome. Quran states all kinds of psychological defects, such as hypocrisy, jealousy, hasad, envy, pride, anger, negligence, greed, and so forth, and the cure as well. But, so the Quran deals with the characteristic of the human mind, the characteristics of the human psyche, based on several inclinations. So if you really study it from a from a psychological point of view, right? You see that there's a lot to do with human behavior and experience. As you can see in these following verses, in terms of what Allah say that man is created with certain formation and evolution. This is the fact. The fact that should be taken into consideration when we does training. We educate people. Because if you look at it, it's like a rite of passage. It's like a process that we go through from being dependent, which is weakness on his child, and then after weakness we get strength, adolescent and adult, and then we strength, and then afterwards, we go decline, we get white hair and so forth. Anyway, so you can see even that if you look at it, not only that, but also embryology and many other disciplines you can see in the Quran and so on and so on. And again, talking about embryology, and you can see that there's that rate of passage, the process here. We basically from a dust, from nutfa, and then from a clot, and from and bones and so forth. So you can see there's a process there anyway. There's a rate of passage that happened to us anyway. But also, when there's both. I think we can move that anyway. Well, just what I said before, that that rights of of living, a passage that you go from child to old age, basically. You go through from weakness to strength, and from strength to weakness, and so on. But not only there's positive characteristics of the Quran, but also, it does talk about human behavior from a negative point of view, and there are many examples. When we look at, when looking perspective of human behavior, or even psychological characteristics, and these are reflected by many kinds of people in the Quran. Example of different spiritual moods is reflected in the Quran by, some people have moods all the time, and some want to do things, sometimes they want to do things, sometimes they don't do salat straight away, and they wait. There are all sorts of reasons anyway. So there are people who remember God, and when once trouble has gone, so when they're in distress, they remember God. When they're not in distress, they forget about it. So there's sometimes human behavior, we are ungrateful. There's lack of gratitude anyway. And also another example, the spiritual mood of those in state of basically denial as well anyway. And you can see from And like our spiritual world, brought by excitement, anger, physical changes during remorse. And you can see from those different verses of the Quran, if you take Surah Dariyat, in there, I don't have it full, but just interpretation of meaning there, okay? It's not it's an interpretation how, the meaning of the Arabic. That when his wife approached with a cry of alarm and struck his face and said, I'm barren of women, and so forth. And so you find that in all these different things, and there it shows about the different aspect of emotion portrayed by different people, sometimes to do with the Prophet as well. And according to the Quran, you can see that human is hasty, human is impatient, we lack sabr, we are complex, and also, as I said previously, that we tend to lack gratitude of Allah, and we become ungrateful anyway. But of course, in fact, if you look at the Quran, whenever there's something what I call negative, but it comes always something positive anyway. We're talking about Jahannam. They all talk about Jannah as well, anyway. Something like that. But they're also positive characters and manners because, you talk about how true believers have distinct personality. If you follow the guidance of Allah and the perfect man, according to Hadith, the most perfect in his faith is your iman among the believers and the one with the best behavior. In fact, the one with the best akhlaq, the best of manners. You're going to be judged on the manners sometimes, not on your amal, not on your deeds anyway. And I quote in Imam Bukhari, nothing is weighted on the scale of deeds than one with manners. Now we come to the self, the nafs. So in fact, people call it the ego in the Quran. To say that it is equivalent to the nafs, one of the people that doesn't accept that. Anyway, that's another issue. But we can see that this is from the Quran, the different stage of the nafs. About and from the Surah Yusuf, Mara Bisuf, the soul is persistent, enjoying her will, which means enjoy what is bad and forbid what is good. The Lawama in Surah Qiyamah, reporting soul, the reporting soul is basically the conscience, morality, and of course the Mutmainah, the one with Sakina, the one with tranquility, the one with serenity, the one, on the day of judgment, basically, you're going to be there with Qalbin Salim, which means you're going to hopefully go in front of Allah with a clean heart, with a purified heart. And Mutmainah. So these are different stages. Again, this is not from psychology book, this is from the Quran. And sometimes people have equate these with ego and super ego. I tend to totally against that thing. In my writing as well, I've dismissed the notion that you can equate. If we do that, then we're creating problems, because the nature of God, the nature of Freudian analysis of the nature of man is very different. It's not congruent. So how can we accept things? How can we equate it with psychology, of Freud, psychoanalysis, when, it does, in incongruence with our Aqidah of Sunnah wal Jama'ah. It's totally. So how can you accept that? How can you say that this is the ego and the ego? Although in some literature, you find this in some books and so forth. I personally, Allah knows best. Personally, I don't equate this with the ego and the super ego. Now the qalb, the heart, heart is mentioned many times in the Quran. Other than referring to itself, which is something physical in the chest, but also something metaphysical. we know that the root itself is been something that's changed over time. So that's something changed quickly and also regularly often. So the heart plays a significant role in human psychology in the Islamic framework, because the heart is associated not only about emotion or affection. It is, for most scholars, is the seat of intellectual and cognitive abilities or faculties, and understanding of motivation, volition, intention. It's, in a way, somebody call it a supersensory organ, which is cognizant of the metaphysical truth. And the heart is connected to the soul as an integral component. Although the exact nature of that connection is unknown. Allah knows best, Allahu Alam. But it's capable of both emotion and reasoning. It's not merely a physical thing. So I say, it's not a physical one that just pumps blood throughout the body. It also has a spiritual essence. It also has a spiritual movement. As in the hadith from Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, I don't know whether I have it next. Is that? I do, yeah. If the body, in the heart, in the body, there's an organ. If there's sound, the body will be sound, and the action of the body will be pure. A heart that is diseased, according to Sahih Muslim, the word a heart that's diseased, lead to, a heart that is diseased will lead to a disease, will lead to problems, but also unhealthy action as well. Different type of thought. If you look at the work of Ibn Qayyim, you see that, different type of heart, the people with the sound heart, the people with the sick heart, the people with the dead heart. And the sound heart is, it's fine. It's like Kalbin Salim. The sick heart is, it waves between the right and wrong. Sometimes it does wrong, sometimes it does right. Anyway, it flickers, whatever, sometimes that person, living dunya and all the material world, sometimes he goes into, maybe during Ramadan, he goes to spiritual world as well. But the dead heart is dead. Now, Allah only will be able to revive it and so forth anyway, and so forth. So you can look at this from the work of it. We have the different types of heart as well. Anyway. And in fact, this is a dua that you should read, and that should recite all the time, and all the time. Open of hearts, make my heart firm on your religion. Okay, Yarikal Kulub, Nabi Khabi ala Dini. Make my heart, firm in your religion. From a psychological aspect, one aspect is a cognitive aspect because Allah gives us the akal, the intellect, anyway. And we know from the sort of work of Imam Ghazali and many others about, that we have those the nafs, the qalb, the ruh, as well as the akal, anyway, those four elements that form dimension of themselves anyway. And the akal is very, very important. And Allah give us that, like give us emotions, but also give us a super intellect for free will. And you find that in many verses of the Quran, you have this, you have, stress the importance of knowledge anyway, and it also emphasizes to us that the greatness of his favors upon man by, endow us with intellect, with intelligence. At the same time, it exhorts us or even challenges, to make good use of our power of reasoning and also our power of cognition. We need to use it anyway. Yeah, that's why Allah said, reflect, all the time in the Quran. So we should make good use of that power of reasoning and cognition, because we want to acquire sound knowledge. We want to acquire authentic knowledge pertaining to Allah and His glory. But in many verses of the Quran, it usually makes the following, kinds of statement and appeals. For example, will you not reflect? Perchance you may understand. So there's always those interrogation marks to make us think. There are signs for us to reflect. There are signs for us to think. Yeah. Of course, there are some other verses, are far-reaching psychological implication undertones from a developmental perspective. Anyway. So again, this background, you can see the study of human cognition, how it develops, what facilitates development, and what retards it, what are the attributes, elements, dimensions, structures, and processes, motivate the present, the Islamic perspective of cognitive development. Of course, this particular intellect is also reflected in the Sharia, in the Islamic law anyway, yeah, because the fact that, a sound and mature intellect has always been made a precondition of all the ibadah you do. You have to be of sound mind. It's a program, all the fard, the compulsory, mandatory ibadah, the prayers. In some cases, it's a validity to discharge them as well. For example, in Islam, no person obliged to undertake any form of religious obligation or duty compulsorily unless he's adequately mentally developed or sound, unless it is, it's got a good mental faculty anyway. This is the reason why religion or religious has not attained the age of physical and mental maturity. The same applies to the insane and also the people who are sleeping. So because when you're sleeping, when you're safe, and children at a certain age, they don't have that accountability because of that. What about the paradigm? What's the framework, of Islamic psychology and Cairo? First, we talk about how belief in monetarianism, in Tawheed. That's also the belief, that Allah is the only creator, sustainer. Belief, as we said before, in the action, the article of faith, arkan al-iman. Believe in divine revelation as the primary source of knowledge, as well. Believe in the religious characteristics, connection we believe with the supernatural world, the ghaib, We can't say we don't believe in predestination, we can't believe in jinn, we can't believe it. No, because it's in the Quran and Sunnah. We have to believe this is part of that ghaib, although we don't see it. So, because we don't see it, do we apply Western scientific paradigm? We can't. That's why our knowledge, primary knowledge, is from the divine. And then we use other evidence-based knowledge as well. We also have adopting Prophet ﷺ as a role model. And also we believe in the physical and metaphysical component of the self. As I said, the khalq, the ruh, the akal, and the na as well. There's a belief also in the anthropology of Islam, and the covenant, the testimony, the testament we made with Allah, and so forth. But what I want to talk about, all these principles define the paradigm of Islamic psychology and psychology. Because if we take the position that Islamic psychology explores the working of the mind, body, and soul that drive human behavior, and experience from Islamic perspective. So Islamic psychology and psychotherapy should find roots in the Quran worldview, or Islamic worldview, and also civilization, but also prophetic example as embodied by the Prophet ﷺ as the best creation of Allah as well. Because Prophet ﷺ is the source of guidance, our positive role model of all mankind, not only Muslims, and bring people from darkness to light through the teaching and behaviors. His statement and behaviors is Sunnah, as we say, constitute a model for Muslim and non-Muslim to follow. There's also the understanding of the fitra, which is the natural, pristine state of human nature, which expresses an innate disposition to monotheism, the belief in one God, the faith in Allah, and the soul connection to Allah as well. So true happiness, positive psychology, and spiritual health are attained by bringing human being back, bring them back in touch with the fitra. That's the basis of psychotherapy as well. Islam is to bring people back, that fitra which is corrupted, that fitra which is deviant sometimes. They're not destroyed. We bring them back to their nearly pristine condition. In a way, we attempt to reach ihsan, the sort of perfection anyway. I nearly finished for some reason. I look at definition of psychology, the main definition of psychology. There are going to be many definitions of Islamic psychology. So, of course, they're not going to be a universal definition. It's never going to be, because it all depends on the author orientation. Even is full of thought, in psychology and so forth. All this, his orientation, also going to influence how he operates Islamic psychology. In 2020, I did a workshop about 30 people or so in Pakistan, and we spent a day or so, or half a day, whatever it is, trying to look at definition. We came up with so many definitions, and then in fact, in the end, after deliberation and many discussions, we came up with that definition, that it is study of the soul, the mental process and behavior, according to the principle of psychology and Islamic sciences. Yeah. So which means that we study the soul, the ghaib as well, the process, the human behavior and experiences, according to the principle of inverted circular cycle, but also from Islamic studies as well. Now, I changed my mind over the years, and recently, I hope, and I've slightly changed it in 2023 to Islamic psychology, the study of science of the soul. Again, mental process and behavior, according to the principle of empirical psychology, rationality, and divine revelation from the Quran and Sunnah. Of course, these things are not tablet of stone. We can argue about it. Maybe in 2 years' time, I'll change my mind about it and have something else. So, and these definitions tend to evolve over a period of time. Anyway. And in conclusion, I know I'm probably shorten my presentation, but in conclusion, what we talk about that, the psychological language of the Quran. Let's get the slides. Yeah. If you look at the psychological language of the Quran, and it depicts all kinds of human behaviors and experiences as well. And our thought, our emotion, according to Utz, anyways, mentioned that our will, our behavior, must focus on reaching Allah, to attaining the pleasure of Allah. And the key sound mental health, according to her, is submission to Allah, anyway, to go back to the Quran and Sunnah, anyway, and to enjoy what is good and to forbid wrong, anyway. But also we need to take into account the Islamic worldview, which is basically an ethical and monastic, worldview, which stems from the belief of Tawheed anyway, it's a discipline. Psychotherapy or psychology, discipline that, focus on understanding of human nature and structures of itself from an Islamic perspective. Anyway. And the fitra, which is the primordial, don't know whether I have it in the next slide. Yeah, is the fitra, which is a primordial, dispersion. You have the nafs and qalb, the ruh, and so forth. An emotional expression, which is ihsas anyway. So Islamic psychology is basically the base of it is underpinned by that epistemology, ontology, and metapsychology, and based on the religion of monotheism according to creed of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And the slides. No, this is the end of my lecture. I know it's a very short presentation. I had enough. We can take some question if people are quite happy about it. Anyway, I'm sorry I changed the things about it because, like I said, I do apologize. I had some problem with my vision. I had some surgery last week, so I can see, but not 100%. But I can manage it. I'm glad to be here as well. So. Let's thank you very much. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'll take some questions. We have lots of times anyway. I don't know how you're going to do the questions, and you can use your microphone. I suppose you can use the chat box as well. Thank you. I stop sharing now. Anyway.
We heard that you just get some medical issues about your eyes. When we hope Allah will always give you a good health after this. And thank you that you still have a time to present your presentation, so we can learn it together about Islamic psychology and how it rules in our study of psychology. But I'm sorry, Professor, to translate the conclusion of your presentation to the students, because our students, some of them cannot speak English. So let me
yes, fine, please do. Yeah, I'm going to send you the slides anyway. So sorry, I didn't have time to do it before, but I would send it anyway. So you can translate as well there as well.
Okay, and for everybody who want to give the question to Mr. Professor Hussein, sambil saya menerjemahkan, I will translate and then think it, listen it, and give a question for Professor Hussein. Okay. Beliau tadi menjelaskan tentang Islamic psychology, itu merupakan awareness that all knowledge is rooted in Quran and Sunnah. Jadi pusatnya semua ilmu pengetahuan apa? Okay, Quran dan Sunnah. Jadi it's same with our department ya, Usuluddin Department. Ada Al-Quran ilmu hadis, lalu ada Al-Quran dan tafsir, ada akidah filsafat Islam, dan yang utamanya sini ada tasawuf dan psikoterapi, di mana semua ilmu itu di dalam Islam harus roots-nya adalah Al-Quran dan As-Sunnah. So this is also a place to psychology. Dan juga Islam itu adalah agama yang tidak mengesampingkan rasionalisme. Kalau ada beberapa agama yang utamanya adalah spiritualisme saja, tapi di dalam Islam antara nafs, di dalam nafs itu ada akal or cognitive side atau cognitive aspect in psychology. Buat teman-teman yang prodi lain, ada habis akal ada hati, kolbu. Dari kolbu, ini about emotion. Di dalam Al-Quran sudah dituliskan bahwa manusia itu tempat dibolak-baliknya hati. Hati manusia itu moody gitu ya. Dan itu sudah dituliskan di dalam Al-Quran. Dan itu adalah sebuah kondisi. Jadi sudah pasti dia harus balik kepada Al-Quran dan As-Sunnah. One thing that's important is in the human aspect of human nature, we cannot be destroyed and changed is fitrah. Ada satu bagian penting dari manusia yang disebut dengan fitrah. Yang tadi Prof. Hussein sampaikan ada sesuatu yang tidak bisa dihancurkan ataupun tidak bisa dirubah oleh siapapun. Sehingga ketika mempelajari psikologi pun kita based on fitrahnya manusia itu sebenarnya apa sih? Kalau di Freud, tadi beliau menyampaikan kalau di Freud itu basisnya manusia menurut dia adalah ya libido atau sesuatu yang sifatnya negatif gitu ya. Just hanya basic instinct saja atau katanya Freud. Tapi di Islam it's not just about basic instinct, it's about fitrah. Dan fitrah manusia is not just about basic instinct seperti yang dikatakan oleh Freud. Di situ ada ruh ke dalam diri manusia yang memberikan sinyal adalah kolbu. Lalu di dalam diri manusia untuk mengenali karakteristik tadi kita bisa melihat dari kolbu ya. Bahwa for example Quran explain that human emotion often change where the heart kolbu is constantly being turned around. Tadi ada Prof. Hussein menerangkan bahwa di dalam Al-Quran dikatakan bahwa ketika hati maka seorang itu akan merasakan siksaan yang pedih. Jadi siksaan pedihnya bukan di neraka gitu ya teman-teman, tapi di dunia sudah ikut merasakan. Core-nya di mana? Yaitu penyakit hati. Jadi hati ini di dalam psikologi Islam itu sangat-sangat dibahas gitu ya. Lalu yang terakhir adalah emotion is a part of psychological aspect that you can see it in the kolbu aspect. Dan yang kedua adalah there is also a cognitive aspect that called akal, ya, akal. First ayat in Al-Quran is Iqra. Iqra bukan ya teman-teman IKT, benar tidak? Jadi the first ayat it's Iqra. And Iqra is the process of cognitive process. Proses kognitif yang bekerja di dalam. Jadi lalu tadi beliau juga menyampaikan syarat sahnya ibadah apa? Syarat sah berakal. Tidak ada ibadah yang syaratnya tidak berakal. Pasti syarat sahnya semua ibadah adalah harus berakal. Tapi setelah berakal, rukun pertama ibadah adalah niat. Niat itu adalah koneksi antara akal dan kolbu. Niat is the connection between cognitive aspect of akal aspect and also the kolbu aspect. So, Islamic psychology is not just about tidak hanya tentang kognitif, it's not just about cognitive, not just about emotion, but the cognition and also the fitrah of the aspect of psychology. Jadi tidak hanya tentang sesuatu yang hanya ada di manusia, tapi bagaimana Allah memfitrahkan aspek-aspek tersebut di dalam diri manusia. So, that's all the conclusion. Silahkan. Oh, there is some question in the chat, Professor Hussein. I will translate it because they write it in Bahasa Indonesia. Okay. Everybody in this room also can asking ya. Okay. From Zawawi, what is the effect of basic manner of the growth and the control of the nafsu? How it can affect to our behavior?
Okay, sorry. Sorry, I didn't understand the question. How is what?
know the basic manner of the controlling nafs. It's mean the bad emotion and then the self-control in Islam can be affected of someone behavior in Islamic psychology perspective. So in Islamic psychology, Islam, we always talk about self-control. Control your emotion, control your angry, control your manner. Why Islam always into the umat, the Muslim, how it can control
Well,
the
okay. I think I got the gist of the questions. How can control this behavior? Of course, it's our nafs, the nafs of amara bisu. You know, that nafs that is enjoin evil. If you think of Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, you know, Surah 12, you know, and so forth, where there was the shaitan, you know, that sometimes whisper in our ear, that influences and so forth. And that's what makes change our behaviors. So we tend to, you know, our behaviors controlled by, of course, you know, sometimes shaitan influence our nafs anyway, you know, and that make us change our behavior. We become angry, we become, you know, so that we deviate from the teaching of Islam and so forth. So it's not only about the nafs, but also the qalb as well, because you know it depends on type of heart you have. If you are according to Ibn Qayyim, whether you have if you have a dead heart, forget about it. If you have a sick heart, you know the word sick itself, not physically but spiritually, then you know. Of course, you're going to be influenced anyway. You know, when you're weak, you get influenced anyway. When you have low self-esteem, you know, from psychology, you get influenced very easily by your peer group. So shaitan sometimes, you know, whispers now we go and pray, you know, the azan, the shaitan go away. When we start Allahu Akbar, we pray, and then we think of all sorts of things. Now, what's happening there is whispering of shaitan, yeah, is trying to make us do things that we shouldn't do, but also trying to reduce our ibadah. Yeah, so this is how our behavior, these are the nafs, the qalb. Don't just take about the nafs, it's just the qalb as well, all the different elements that it interact and influence our behavior as well anyway. And now we have to know how to deal with this. How to deal, for example, we know how to deal with anger from Sunnah of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You know, he tell us how to deal with it. Of course, we have anger management, we have relaxation therapy, we have visualization, we have, Islamic tafakkur is contemplation and so on, but also, you know, we have hadith where Prophet tells us, make wudu and, you know, and if you're sitting up, you sit down and so forth. There's a lot of sunnah as well from hadith of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who teach us how to deal with anger. So, but our human behavior is a combination of all these different elements, the naf, the qalb, you know, and akal as well. I hope I answered the question.
so basically
No sound.
our so like you say that shaitan and also the negative things cannot control our can take their part of our behavior because we cut it with self-control by ibadah, salat, and then another ibadah that Islam teach to us, isn't it? Okay. And I hope Zawawi can understand ya. Zawawi, jadi Zawawi, Profesor Hussein said that jadi utamanya adalah kenapa kita harus mengontrol segala apa yang ada di dalam diri kita dan kenapa Islam selalu mengontrol semua yang ada di dalam diri kita. Utamanya adalah untuk ngeblok pengaruh buruk. Ketika kita punya kontrol akalnya, dan kontrol kolbunya, maka hal-hal yang negatif akan lebih cepat masuk. Makanya sholat itu ada 5 waktu. Kenapa nggak cuma 1? Ya. Contoh dari subuh membuka hari kita. Biar nggak kelimpungan hari ini mau ngapain. Minimal ada tafakur ada waktu berdiam diri ketika subuh sehingga mulai waktu tidak buru-buru. Lalu ada zuhur ketika sudah tergesa-gesa dalam bekerja lalu mendengar azan harus sholat. Sudah moodnya udah jelek nih kalau mau sore disegerin lagi sama sholat asar. Lalu di ending ada sholat maghrib. Itu mood lagi pada jelek-jeleknya tuh kalau maghrib ya. Di-charge lagi. Dan sebelum tidur dikontrol lagi dengan sholat isya. Dan seterusnya. Begitu. Jadi bagaimana Islam selalu mengedepankan self-control. And then this is here Miss Sri Wahyuni want to asking you directly. Please.
Thank you. Yes.
Baik.
Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
And thank you for the moderator, Bu Erina, for giving me the chance to ask the questions in this conference. Okay, I think the topic is so interesting about Islamic psychology. Let me introduce myself. My name is Wahyuni and I'm a lecturer of English education professor. And I'm also interested in this topic in psychology. That's wonderful. As I listened to your presentation, many topics are presented like Tawheed, and then called the role of qalb or heart in Islamic psychology, and then nafs, good characters and negative characters, and so on. And that's the reality if in the life, I think. So I have a question, sir, related to the, what is that? The fact that if we find some people, for example, they are good in building Islamic religion and then well educated, for example, they are good in building the relationship to God or Allah. But for example, they miss, yes, one aspect, how to build good relationship with humans or other people. Yes, and this is, yeah, there are many cases like that in our environment, our reality. Yes, for example, they forget others' sacrifices. They are not grateful to others' kindness and do not respect other sacrifices, for example, like that. So how do you respond to this kind of example in our reality, Professor? And then the second question is that, talking about cognitive development, how we build or how we shape intellectual maturity in our life. Thank you, Professor. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much. This is very, very challenging question. Yeah, of course, people have that dual personality, if you can call it that anyway. They go in the masjid, they are fine, they're pious people, but then at home they have poor interpersonal relationship. They have all sorts of excuse me, a lot of bad behavior. How do you explain that? It just means that whatever they have learned from Islamic point of view, they haven't learned anything. Because if you use the word learning as you're an educator, learning means there may change of behavior. Yeah, if you learn something, there must be a change of behavior, or your attitude, or your emotional whatever. But if somebody is doing it, is it purely rituals? It's because you're conditioned to do certain things. But when you're at home, you're a very different person. Yeah? Now there must be something wrong with that teaching. Or why can't we apply the same principle at home in everything in the life? And I think this is the what we call the double bind situation as well. You apply it to psychologists. You could have a Muslim psychologist, very devoted. I mean, at home he's very devoted to his wife and things like that. And when he come to teach psychology and teach about many other things which is probably not compatible with Islam. So you have vice versa as well. How do you deal with this? is this, which means that the person has not really, really learn or reflect, what they learned from the Quran and Sunnah, but also because they probably, and not putting in practice in all aspects of life, because Islam is about all aspects of life, all human behavior, whether you're at home, at school, or in the bank. Do you see what I mean? And so in a way, there's problem with these people. Yeah, I've come across these people as well. Anyway, so there's this program, but there's, what is the solution? The solution is re-educate. They need to be re-educated as such anyway. But of course, they won't do that anyway. And, so again, you can have somebody presenting themselves very well at the masjid and then beat up his wife and abuse and physical abuse or do all sorts of things. So, I mean, this is very common anyway. It's just that these like a dual personality anyway, one at home and one at anyway. Yeah. So the second question about cognitive psychology, cognitive development, and but not only the Quran, but also a lot of Ibn Hajar and many others have written about cognitive development, from the classical literature, because a lot of it in Arabic as well. It's being translated into English now. So what can I say is that somebody mentioned at the beginning, Ikra, read, the first thing, So, I mean, this is the start of everything, you have to learn, There's hadith about increase your knowledge, and pass it on. But so knowledge, you need to have some sort of intellect. So that's cognitive development. So part of a Muslim life is lifelong learning, is continuing professional learning. Yeah, and that's come not only about learning, it's about tazkiyah and nafs as well. It's about purification. So how do you purify your soul if you don't have knowledge? So cognitive development in terms of how we develop, we have to start from, of course, very early on, according to our cognitive ability and maturity. And so you can, it's knowledge. It's the basis of everything. But then you have inauthentic knowledge as well. If you go on the websites, you find a lot of rubbish, a lot of people quoting from each other and make mistakes. There are a lot of weak hadith, daif hadith and so forth. So you have to seek authentic knowledge as well. It's not about just knowledge. It's about authentic knowledge. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So we should build relationship to God, or hablum minallah, and also we should also develop hablum minannas or to other human beings like that,
Yeah.
sir. And of course, yes, ikra, to develop intellectual maturity. Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you
because
very
that's
much.
how it starts.
Yes, sir.
Ikra.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
Yes.
Terima kasih.
Sama-sama.
I know you're going to say sama-sama.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe there is any question from the room here? Okay, ada satu. In Indonesia, okay. In English, okay, please.
Baik, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Perkenalkan, nama saya Warbatul Musyarofa dari Prodi Tasawuf Psikoterapi semester 3. Di sini saya inginnya terkait tentang kerusakan alam atau natural destruction. Kerusakan alam telah menjadi ancaman yang sangat serius semua belahan bumi dan telah dirasakan dengan adanya perubahan iklim dan efek-efek yang ditimbulkannya. Misalnya di Indonesia, lingkungan yang mengalami kerusakan yang parah dapat dilihat pada penggundulan hutan, polusi udara, maupun pencemaran sungai. Bagaimana alternatif atau solusi tasawuf terkait natural destruction atau kerusakan alam tersebut, dan bagaimana peran tasawuf untuk menurunkan angka kerusakan lingkungan tersebut? Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, I will translate it.
Please.
So she is asking about the disaster, about the global warming and the climate change. How can you give us some advice from your perspective, especially from Islamic psychology and tasawwuf? They asking about the tasawwuf or Sufism perspective, but because we talking about Islamic psychology, so I'm asking that how Islamic psychology uh, explain the behavior of the humans correlated with the global warming, the war, the disaster, and other things that happen now in our world.
Thank you, Terima kasih. Thank you. I am not an expert on these matters on global warming, but as a layperson, I can talk about it. I mean, if you go back to the Quran itself, that the environment is very important. We were sent as Khalifa, visitors on earth to be able to protect the earth as well. So I think from Islamic point of view, not psychology, from Islamic point of view, that we need to really keep up, maintain our environment we live in. Now it remind me of a hadith, about water, not wasting water, for example. If I'm correct, I'm just something in my mind that when we don't waste water, something like that. Which means that why? Because we want to. These are utilities, basic utilities that people have to try to not to abuse it. Yeah. So also Islam is a sort of way of life of moderation. Islam is not extreme. Yeah, we are always doing things moderate. Allah even said, in Surah Baqarah, it doesn't put anything, calamities harder than you can bear anyway, which means that uh, returning back to what I was saying is that it's to do with that we have as a Muslim, not into Islamic psychology, that we need to really, protect our environment. Don't misuse things. Don't abuse things anyway, even animals as well as, our environment as well. So that's the basis. If I don't know whether any verses talk about the environment. I'm not qualified person to do that. But from like I said, lay people, you can do that. So, from Islamic psychology, I don't, the same as Islam, that worldview that, we need to protect our environment. I know in the certain countries, like you had, you have problems, with climate change, and even in my country now the weather is extreme. When it is hot, it's very hot. When it's cold, it's very cold. And our houses, for example, even in Indonesia, are not built for a certain type of weather. This extreme weather. Not even in England, their houses are not built for extreme summer. It's built for winter. So you can see that affecting everybody everywhere, from the Maldives to many other, in Indonesia as well, with climate change. But, it's all of us, individually, to be able to put pressure on people to try to but again, to do all these things to do with big money, it's profit, it's about materialism, it's about these things anyway. That this is a danger as well. The developing world, say to the developed world, you reduce your carbon, but we won't reduce our carbon, But anyway, and they're talking Dubai at the moment on top free anyway. So I don't know. It's like I say, as a Muslim, I think we need to take care of our environment. We need to protect us as a Muslim. But it's whatever it is.
Tadi
Sorry,
yang
it's good. It's Zohar time here. It's the early time anyway. Okay.
After this last question, we will end this conference. Maybe I will explain to my students. Oke, jadi Prof. Hussein tadi bilang bahwa sebenarnya bukan ahlinya dia nih ngomong tentang apa yang terjadi di dunia ini, tapi apa yang terjadi di dunia ini pertama yang harus dilakukan acceptance dulu tuh. Sama menyadari bahwa apa yang terjadi di dunia ini ya balik lagi dengan perilaku kita. Sudah sejauh mana kita memikirkan apa yang kita lakukan, seberapa jauh kita mengontrol perilaku kita dan lain-lain. Intinya seperti itu. Dan Islam itu tidak pernah mengajarkan sesuatu yang sifatnya ekstremisme, merusak terlalu berlebihan, mencintai terlalu berlebihan dunia, tapi semuanya harus balance dan penuh kesadaran. Seperti itu ya. Oke. Okay, the next question in chat.
I think it's written there anyway. Somebody, can I read it?
Okay,
On the
alhamdulillah.
chat box, yeah. It's from Ida Ayu Hanifa. Am I correct? No. Yeah. What's the basic difference between Islamic psychology and Western psychology? Now, of course, in my book, on Islamic psychology and basic Islamic psychology and so forth, I make the difference anyway. I think the main difference to do with orientation in terms of one is secular, the one is spiritual. Now, why I say that is because we do have spirituality in psychotherapy in the West. There's no doubt about that. But the way spirituality is defined is very different from our Islamic worldview of spirituality. I explain. There's a difference between religion and spirituality. For example, if I live in the West, I live in England for many years, 35 years. I live in many countries, but I live in England for many years, so I know. In the West, when we talk about spirituality, we talk about, yes, I believe in something, yeah, but I don't need to I don't need to pray. I don't need to go to church. That's spirituality. Religion is rituals. So some people in the West say, right, I do have spirituality, but I don't have a religion, because they separated religion and spirituality. Islam, we don't. So the difference when we talk about spirituality in the West and spirituality in Islam is very different. So the difference is that, there's no religion or spirituality within that. And also, if you look at Western psychology, it's written from a Judeo-Christian position. Most of what you learn, 90% of research in psychology are from America, which means that the psychology we learn from books tend to write in narratives which is purely Judeo-Christian positions. For example, did you see in any of the psychology book you have, do they talk about al-Balkhi, the 9th century cognitive psychotherapist, the 9th century developer of cognitive? No, you see Albert Ellis, you see, many others, but not Balkhi. So in a way, our cultural heritage, the Quran itself, and also the work, there's so much work on psychology they've done. Many of them developed treatment that we still use today. But you're not going to see that in books from the West. So that's why we need to go back to Quran and Sunnah, and also the work. So there's many differences. We won't have time to do it. So why must be integration? There must be integration of psychology and Islam anyway. Because, okay, if you say we can only use spiritual intervention, yes. But at the same time, do you mean that we can't use medication? Do you mean that somebody is depressed, we can't use medication because we're using only, we are, right. But what did the Hadith say? Oh, Is that hadith here? That Allah has created cures in disease as well as cure. Attending traditional, conventional treatment does not really contradict with Islamic belief and practice. We do both. We do both psychological intervention, but also, so that's why there's had to be an integration between psychology and Islam. Of course, you can say, right, I'm only going to learn to do psychology. I'm not going to, yeah, you're right, you're correct. Even you're Muslim, that's fine. That's not the problem. Allah does not course, we don't force people to do anything that they don't want to do, but you have a choice. Those who want to integrate Islam and psychology, they can do that. But you have to do it from the basis of ilm, from the basis of knowledge. So, I mean, we could, in fact, this subject, we can talk another conference, another hour, no, more than an hour. Inshallah, one day I come here to Indonesia, we talk about this. Sorry, no sound.
Allah, inshallah. So, I hope you can come here. For your information, actually, I am Mr. Taufik Kasturi assistant used to when I am a student. Maybe you do a conference with Mr. Taufik Kasturi from University of Muhammadiyah Surakarta in the past time.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah, of course, yeah.
I know you from him because he is my professor too when I was student. So inshallah,
Okay.
this silaturahmi will be continue again in the future, and I hope you can come here and meet us, all of our students here. Maybe you can see here. I will show you.
I saw them anyway. Yeah, you can show. I saw them anyway in class. What course is that? What course is that?
Okay, my computer is off. Okay. Okay. We have us. Okay, Erina Rahmajati. Okay. Tolong itu Erina di spotlight. Spotlight, Mas. Okay, you can see me now. My computer is literally.
Oh, yeah.
This is
Before
my phone.
I saw the screen. Now I see the
Okay.
students anyway.
Yeah. So
and
with this
what
one,
are they doing? They are BS psychology student or?
they are from four of the department. There is a Quranic studies. Hello, Quranic studies.
I see. But they learn psychology. Okay.
Hands. Yeah, and then from Hadith studies. Studies, and then Sufism and psychotherapy.
Okay.
Hello, guys. They are from Sufism and psychotherapy, and also the last one is from the Islamic philosophy. Islamic philosophy. Okay. So guys. Okay.
Thank you very much.
So anyway. So they are full in this room. So I hope we all can meet with you in the future.
Inshallah.
Okay. And then okay. Mr. Maybe we will break for a minute. Maybe you want to salat first, because we will listen to our student will sing solawat, and we break, and after that I will of our conference about 10 minutes, and then I hope you can join with us again when I conclude our conference.
Okay. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay,
I'll have my things on anyway. I'll be still here. Live anyway.
Oh, you will still okay.
I'll be here.
Okay. Times is for, we will ask to Mr. Farfisa, our students, to sing the salawat together.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ma'assalama fi amani syaikhana Allahu rabbirhamu rabbi ruhina ya Rabbana. Ma'assalama fi amani syaikhana Allahu rabbirhamu rabbi ruhina ya Rabbana. Rindu kami pada guru-guru mulia masih terasa hangat sentuhan tanganmu ya Syekhona, dan terbayang raut wajah sejukkan jiwa, muliakan mereka di sisi kekasihmu ya Rabbana. Assalamu fi amani syaikhana Allahu rabbirhamu rabbi ruhina ya Rabbana. Ma'assalam fi amani syaikhana Allahu rabbirhamu rabbi ruhina ya Rabbana. Kaulah hujan hidupkan indah tanaman, kau rembulan menyinarkan gelap malam. Kaulah surya menghangatkan jiwa-jiwa. Kau pancaran cahaya Nabi yang mulia. Ma'assalam fi amani syaikhana rabbirhamu rabbi ruhina ya Rabbana. Ma'assalam fi amani syaikhana Allahu rabbirhamu rabbi ruhina ya Rabbana. Bahagialah bagai pengantin di syurga, penuh cinta kasih sayang, rindu ya Syekhona. Ampunilah jika ku buatmu kecewa, ku mohon sayangi mereka, guru ya benar. Assalamu fi amani syaikhona Allahu rabbirhamu rabbi ruhina ya Rabbana. Ma'assalam fi amani syaikhana Allahu rabbirhamu rabbi ruhina ya Rabbana. Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh. Okay, okay. Thank you for Farvisa, our student from Sufism and Psychotherapy program. Okay, thank you. Okay, Professor Hussein, are you still there? Alhamdulillah. Okay, Professor. Oh, he's still here. Okay, Professor Hussein, are you still there? Okay, we are waiting for Professor Hussein. Maybe he is still doing Zuhur. Mr. Operator, I'm still not a co-host, so I cannot control this meeting room. Moderator, not oh ke saya ya, hostnya kebuang. Oke. Hmm. Ke sini ke saya, host. Sudah saya pindahkan ya hostnya. EAIN. Okay, everybody still in this Zoom meeting room. You can fill daftar hadir ya, form untuk daftar hadir, sehingga ketika teman-teman mengisi daftar hadir tersebut, teman-teman sudah bisa langsung mendapatkan sertifikat. Untuk yang ada di ruangan nanti habis ini share ya, baik di grup-grup kalian. Kalau Afi, IKT, dan IHA nanti via Prodi, Pak Kaprodinya nanti ya. Kalau yang di sini. Oke, I will call um, our head of program, tapi want to get to restroom first. Okay, Professor. Okay, Alhamdulillah. Okay, I think I will conclude our okay. Okay, baik. Everybody, I will conclude the conference presentation that Professor Hussein Rasul did in this conference. Jadi teman-teman, Islamic Psychology itu berangkat dari kesadaran bahwa semua ilmu itu berakar dari Al-Quran dan As-Sunnah. So Islamic studies depart from the awareness that all knowledge is written in the Quran and Sunnah. And then perbedaan antara psikologi Islam dan juga psikologi Barat adalah pada poin spiritual dan juga religion is not a different things. So in Islamic psychology, between religion and spirituality is not duality but monotheism. So it's we call it tauhid that Mr. Russell said in the beginning. And then selain berisikan tentang karakteristik proses psikologi manusia, Al-Quran dan Sunnah juga menjelaskan tentang karakteristik negatif manusia. Apart from containing the characteristic of human psychological process, the Quran and Sunnah also explain the negative characters of humans. Sebagai contoh, Al-Quran menjelaskan emosi manusia sering berubah-ubah, di mana hati senantiasa diputarbalikkan. For example, the Quran explained that human emotions even often change, where the heart, or we call it kolbu, is constantly being turned out. Hati bukan hanya berisikan emosi dari bagian aspek psikologi, namun juga dalam Islam hati ini menjadi kunci utama dari perilaku. Kolbu not only contains emotion and is part of the psychological aspect, but in Islam, heart is the main key of the behavior. Ada juga aspek kognitif berupa akal, dan semua ibadah itu syarat sahnya adalah berakal. Dan ini menandakan bahwa akal adalah bagian yang penting dalam Islam. Akal juga menjadi dasar kematangan atau maturity seseorang. There is also a cognitive aspect in front of akal. All the worship is akal. So it becomes important in Islam. Akal is also basic of person's human maturity. Okay, I will call Professor Hussein Rasul. Are you still there?
I'm sorry, I'm still there. Yeah,
Already...
I have some technical problem with my yes.
Oh, okay. So your
I can hear you. I can
video
hear you. I
kelihatan.
can see you.
Oke, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Jadi teman-teman mohon maaf, Profesor Hussein Rasul tidak bisa menampilkan videonya karena ada pengendala teknis. So okay, if you have any question, you can give it directly to to Professor Hussein by his email. I will share it next time. So I will finish this conference, Professor Hussein.
Yes, I can hear you.
I hope we can meet again in the future, not in
Inshallah.
the online room
Inshallah.
again, but you can come here or we can come to your place.
Why not?
Inshallah. One thing again, I'm sorry, maybe I say it in this room. Maybe you can see the your email, because we need some your account number and another things in your email. I already sent it. I hope you can reply.
I would do that. Thank you. Yeah. I would send all the details and also the PDF of my presentation as well, inshallah.
The students here and also our head of program, Mrs. Salma Faatin, here our head of program, Professor.
Yeah.
Here, Mrs. Salma Faatin. We hope that we can meet again in the future. Maybe Bu Salma, you want to say things? Okay, enough. Okay, because you have to do Zuhur time there, and also here is Asar. Thank you everybody in this room and also in the Zoom meeting room. Me, Erina Rahmajati as the moderator, and also Mrs. Cahyandarii as the Master of Ceremony, and all of the part of this international conference. Inshallah, we will meet again in the next year, in the next event, and we hope we can learn again and continue our silaturahmi.
Inshallah.
Amin, inshallah. So thank you, and I'm sorry if I have a mistake in this conference. Thank you for Professor Dr. Hussein Rasul for your time, for your knowledge, for your sharing. We hope that we can share it and continue our collaboration in the future.
Sama-sama.
Sama-sama. Terima kasih. Terima kasih semuanya. Thank you for everybody. I will close this. Bila taufiq wadaya. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih.
Thank you. Terima kasih, Mr. Hussein.
Yeah.
Give applause for Mr. Hussein and all of us here. Okay, this Zoom meeting will be in the couple minutes.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor. Maybe we will continue our. Oke, nanti saya lanjut di email. Terima kasih semuanya yang di sini, tepuk tangan buat kita semua. Berapa jam nih, guys? 3 jam ya? 3 SKS nih. Oke, baik. Terima kasih untuk yang di sini nanti seperti tadi yang sudah disampaikan.